Since I took office, we've doubled the number of battle groups in NATO's eastern flank, and the United States has. Finland and Sweden have joined the alliance, and the number of allies spending at least 2% on defense has gone from 9 to 23. That's not happened by chance, but by choice.
That is President Biden during yesterday's working session at the NATO summit in Washington. Joining us now, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. He's written a guest essay for the New York Times titled, "You Can Count on a Strong NATO." Mr. Sullivan, good to have you on the show this morning. Undeniably, NATO is as strong as it's ever been, stronger, arguably, than it's ever been on its 75th anniversary, with the addition, as the president said there, of Finland and Sweden to the alliance. Still, though, concerns, as you know, from President Zelensky, who will hold that bilateral meeting today with President Biden there in Washington, about how strong the alliance will be in its support of Ukraine in the fight against Russia. So what will the president say to President Zelensky today about the American support and the support of the alliance for Ukraine?
Well, first, thanks for having me. Second, you're absolutely right. NATO is stronger, bigger, and more resolved than ever, and our NATO allies are stepping up. One of the points I made in that New York Times op-ed, in addition to the fact that 23 NATO allies now, up from 9, have met their 2% commitment, Europe is actually spending more on behalf of Ukraine than the United States if you take all of their contributions combined. So this is genuine burden sharing. And what President Biden will tell President Zelensky today is that our support for Ukraine is not just rhetoric. It is a reality that is playing out in the delivery of weapons to the brave Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines who are taking the fight to the Russians. Just this week, President Biden announced 5 new strategic air defense systems to protect Ukrainian cities. Just yesterday, he announced that the transfer of U.S.-made F-16s is underway and that Ukrainian pilots will be flying those F-16s by the end of the summer. We have filled the munitions gap so that Ukrainians won't run out of ammunition as they confront the Russian aggressors. And President Biden and President Zelensky will also be able to talk about all of the other dimensions of the strategy to ensure that Russia fails in this war and Ukraine prevails.
So, Jake, I think it's a good time on the 75th anniversary to perhaps remind people, especially given the last 5 or 6 years where you had a president, the previous president, who questioned why we were even in NATO, why we were spending money, why Europeans weren't spending more money, the value of this alliance, why it was formed to begin with, what it has provided over those 75 years, and why you believe it is important going forward.
Well, just think about what happened before NATO existed. There were 2 world wars in Europe, 2 wars in which the United States was forced to enter, and thousands of young American men and women died, gave their lives to protect peace in Europe so that we could have peace here in the United States. Since NATO has been founded, we have been able to protect our European allies. We have been able to maintain stability in Europe, and the United States has not had to enter a war in Europe with American forces fighting and dying in that time period. That was not inevitable. That was the result of the strongest defensive alliance the world has ever known. It is a massive success, and it has enabled the United States to enjoy significant peace, stability, and prosperity behind NATO's shield. But we got to renew it. We got to renew it every generation. We have to renew it every year, and that takes a president like President Biden, who has galvanized this alliance and really unified it in the face of a Russian onslaught in Ukraine, and shown the world that when the United States stands with its allies, we are stronger, they are stronger, and the world is better off.
Jake, good morning. Jonathan Lemire. At this exact moment, though, as NATO gathers to pledge support for Ukraine, we see Prime Minister Modi of India, who I know the Biden administration counts on as an important player in this rising power in this world, embracing Vladimir Putin, literally embracing him at the same time. What is your reaction to that and to India's continued economic support of Russia?
Well, look, we've made clear to every country in the world, including to India, that a bet on Russia as a long-term reliable partner is not a good bet. And that's especially true in our view for India, because Russia is becoming closer to China, in fact, is becoming the junior partner to China And in that way, they would side with China over India any day of the week. And Prime Minister Modi, of course, has profound concerns about the potential for Chinese aggression against India, which we have seen over recent years. So we'll keep making that case. But countries like India do have a historic relationship with Russia. So none of this is going to change dramatically overnight. This is playing the long game. It is making investments in democratic partners and allies around the world, including countries like India, and we think that that bet will pay off as we go forward.
All right, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.